Hi there, and welcome to this video about using for loops, and in particular looking at the step values that we give them. As you can see, I've got this app here, okay, and inside my app I have a for loop, and within my for loop I'm basically just setting it between 1 and 6 with a step of 1, so it's going to go, so my loop counter is going to go from 1 to 2 to 3 and so on till it reaches 6, and then when it goes beyond that to 7 it will come out of the loop. And I've got two GFX write statements, so it's going to tell me the current value of the loop counts from the same line, and then it goes to a new line for the next time. So if we actually have a quick check of how this works, okay, and play that, we can see that the output gives me values from 1 to 6, and if I run it with the debugger, okay, we can run this line, see loop counter's 1 there, moves up to the next thing, sets it to 2, to 3 and so on. Okay, we get to 6, comes back up, sets loop counter up by 1 again because the step's 1, sets it up to 7, at which point it comes out of the loop. Okay, so let's go back in. Now what happens if I said, well, let's step this by 2 instead? Okay, so I don't have to set it by 1, I could step it by 2. Okay, so let's actually have a look at that. See what happens. So this time we can see it's done 1, 3 and 5 because it's stepping up by 2 each time. Okay, so let's just have a quick sort of look at what's going on. So if I run that with the debugger, okay, and let's run that highlighted line. So for loop counter is 1 to 6 step 2, so it's 1 at the moment, so we can see that there. So next time it comes round, the step is 2 this time, so the loop counter, which was 1, we add 2 to it, so it becomes 3, as so. Okay, next up, loop counter, we've added 2 to it again, so it becomes 5. This time when we add 2 to it, it's 5, so that becomes 7. Now at that point it's not between 1 and 6, which means it comes out of the loop. So it starts to make a bit more sense as to what's going on. Okay, now also the thing to mention is I don't have to go down in value. Okay, sorry, up in value. I could go down. So as an example, if I said, well, let's set this from 10 down to 10 down to 6 will be fine. Okay, and I could set this to -1. So when I run that, then the values I'm going to get are going to start at 10 and go down to 6. Okay. Now you might look at that and wonder, well, you know, why would I bother? I don't understand. Yeah. I didn't want to run again then. So why would I bother? Well, sometimes we can be quite clever with the way that we use our loop counter values and our steps, in that we can perhaps use them in a way that helps us in our app. So for example, let's say I had an app, Space Invaders app, and I had my little shooter thing at the bottom, okay, and I want to fire, and it's going to go up the screen. Okay, now as soon as I press fire, a little graphic's going to appear for my little, if you like, phaser bullet or whatever you might call it. Okay, and that's going to be working its way up the screen. And while it works its way up the screen, it's going to be changing the y-axis value for that particular graphic. Now, that would probably be done using a for loop, because I'll know where the shooter currently is on the screen and how far it needs to go to get to the top of the screen and off. Okay, so I'd know in advance how many times I've got to change my loop counter, and I'd need to change the y-axis each time on that loop counter. So I could use my step value to perhaps work it out to say, well, where am I starting from, where do I need to get to, and step it up each time so that I can use the loop counter as the current y-axis value. Okay, and there's all sorts of different reasons that you might be able to change your step values and your loop counters to try and work with you a little bit, to be quite clever about how you set different things that you put inside the loop. Just like in a way at the moment what I'm doing here is using the loop counter here so we can actually see its value. So that was using for loops and changing their step values.